Hey everyone, James from TDB here, bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today we are doing a Dayi recipe comparison. The 8542 versus the 7542. Very similar in terms of their numbers there. Same leaf grade. Recipes developed at different times. The 8542 developed in 1985. 7542, probably the most famous recipe in the pu'er industry, developed in 1975. So thank you to Brigmbg, who on Discord, who sent me a really huge chunk of the 8542. Just very, very generous. So these were bought from the same group buy. I bought a cake of the 502. This group buy was put on to Quiche, so thank you, Quiche, as well. The 502, I have steadily been drinking. It has been kind of a regular favorite of mine. Just not the best tea, but just a very, very steady one, and one that is in a nice spot to just be drinking. It's not too overly aggressive right now, but still offers a lot of kind of the overall appeal. So I did blind these teas, but despite kind of becoming from the same group buy, they actually have fairly different storage. So I do anticipate that the blindness of this isn't going to be super effective. It will probably be pretty obvious which tea is which. And so I've always been fascinated by these different recipes, just because there's a 7582 and 8582. I compared those two in a past Inbetweenisode last year. And so 8542, 7542, on their surface, they sound very, very similar. And so kind of in terms of my initial expectations going into this, I had 8542 describe me as kind of like 7542, but also a little bit like 8582, which is a little mellower, a little bit less punchy. And that has been sort of my experience with these teas too. My 7542, I do feel like, is a little bit more aggressively stored than the 8542 in this comparison, which is one reason why I think that it will become pretty clear. So in terms of batches, so batches in this period seem to really matter, certainly in terms of the price, but also in terms of my experience with the different teas. So this is a 502 7542, so that is the second batch. It's a pretty well-known one. It's a decently sought-after one. You do have a bunch of batches after that are lower in price, and of course you do have the 501 batch, which is a very famous. There's actually two batches of the 501. This is where things get very complicated, and they go for a few times more than the 502. So the 502 kind of hits that nice sweet spot where it's not cheap, but it's affordable, and it's good enough quality, even if it's not quite on the 501 level. The 8542, on the other hand, I have no idea how many batches or whatnot, but this is from the first batch of the year. So yeah, one of these teas is much more pricey than the other, the 502. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they show. In my experience, the 8542 is definitely kind of a nice budget solid tea for the price, considering it is now 21 years old too. So let's get into comparing these teas. So we are going to start brewing these teas immediately. I gave these both 2 rinses. It's not a huge reason for that, other than just to get to the tea quickly. So we got tea on the right, tea on the left. So the storage is probably what's going to give away which tea is which, just because the 8542 seemed to be stored a bit drier. So as you can see now, even before smelling the leaves, I would guess that the tea on the left is the 8542 and the tea on my right is the 7542. Woody, little grassy, very classic Dayi. This is wetter. It's definitely a little more in the foresty, woody vibe, so a little bit more dampness on the forest floor in comparison to the other one. It was also interesting to try Denny's. Denny and I blinded the 502s. We both bought into the same buy, and they're both stored somewhat differently too. Not as huge of a difference as these two. I think it was just more like what cake is more towards the floor. I would guess mine was a little damper, and so a little closer to the floor than Denny's, and so Denny's was brighter. There's a little bit of a plum note, whereas mine is just like straight woody So yeah, here we go. So nonetheless, the point of this isn't necessarily to guess the blinds. It's also just to straight up compare these teas. One, like in terms of how they are, mouthfeel, texture, whatnot. Let that cool down for just a second. But it has that really just full mouthfeel that you get and texture just right off the bat there. Just like a nice big body. And that's kind of what I've started to associate 7542 of a certain era with. It's just got like this nice bigness. At this point, it's like not even that bitter. I think a lot of 7542s, once you get to a certain age, they're really not as bitter or as punchy as you would think. Maybe the 501 is a bit of an exception in that sense, in the sense that it has like, I don't know, just a lot of activity going on in the mouth. But this one does as well, just not to the same level. Just really, really woody, nice. It's not smooth, but it's certainly getting there. I can definitely imagine this being quite a bit smoother than even 5 years ago. Okay, now we will move to this tea on the left. Yeah, just paying attention to the aftertaste, and this is one thing that's going to be harder to do as we get a little deeper in the session, just having it going back and forth. And perhaps one way where it might be better to stick with one tea and then do the next. But in this case, I want to compare like the mouthfeels and the textures as well. So, depending on how you design your side-by-side, you can determine different sorts of things. Nice Huigon coming back, getting the top of the throat and the back of the mouth too. So very nice parts of this tea, and cheers. It's certainly a lot brighter. It kind of has this nice peach note that's coming across. Keeping in mind when we do these side-by-sides, the contrast of these teas are going to be emphasized. So for me at least, I am getting a lot more high notes on this. Still very woody. More in the dry wood category, though. The body is not as big. Definitely a little dryness, astringency coming off this. More stringent, stronger mouthfeel is what I would say so far of these. And then we go, I think it's called Snakes now, so we will start here and then go to the right. I think maybe after this one I will reveal, just so we can get over the blind part of these ones. Dayi in 2005, very interesting time period. You go back 2 years to 2003, very different period than 2005. You go forward 2 years to 2007, and you're, again, in a very, very different era. So 2005 kind of sits somewhat uncomfortably in between those two extremes. 2003, there was a lot less tea made, and the quality of the tea was quite good. So you're talking about 7542s from that year. You're talking about pretty pricey teas if they are well stored. And then you go forward to 2007, and that is the year of the bust. And quantity had expanded to such a level that, in my opinion, the 2007 7542s, even the 7-1, they're only so good, and these teas mostly will blow them away. So this 2005 period, it kind of sits between them in price as well as quality. Some people list it as the last good year, last maybe great year of Dayi. And other people are think you should go older. Other people are like, yeah, actually, some of the teas post 2005 are still pretty good. So it really, really starts to depend, but it is in a period of pretty rapid change for Munghai Tea Factory. It's the first full year after the reform. So you get to see kind of the more modern version of Dayi take over. Just given these a chance to cool down a little bit. Again, the 7542, or what I'm guessing is the 7542, I will say that doing it like this makes it seem even wetter stored than before. When I have it on its own, it doesn't cross me quite as wetly stored as it is in this session. So it's interesting. Teas are going to present themselves differently depending on how you do that. Everything is kind of like a different angle at the tea, including if you just have the tea on its own on a clean palette. That's probably the most straightforward way to have it. But if you do a comparison like this, you're just constantly comparing the two. So yeah, let's get into this if this is cooled down enough. So they're both brewing a little bit of a darker color here. The astringency builds, in fact, this is coming across as quite astringent and perhaps a little overbrewed. Interestingly, I don't think I leaned on it too hard. It's about 4 grams for 75 milliliters there. I did try to break up these teas a good amount. Yeah, really quite astringent. Very woody. Some nice resinous activity to this too. But I think that's definitely overbrewed. I mean, that is a little bit too strong, I feel like, for that. And perhaps it is simply the contrast versus this somewhat wetter stored tea. Cheers. It's real nice. Yeah, it's just rounded. It's just softened just enough to be quite drinkable. Just really, really easy going down tea for me. Very classic. Both of these classic in a way. I do feel like the 8542, when you have it like this, it does show its greenness a bit, and it shows that it might need a bit more time. Yeah, that's good stuff. And you do have a little bit of that astringency lingering in the back. Okay, so let's do the real here. So this should be B. Yep, B, meaning it is the 502, 7542. And A should be the 8542. Yep, 8542. Okay, clear enough. We will do one last infusion here. All right, so really sitting in the aftertaste. They both are very nice in terms of the collective aftertaste that I'm getting. I'm going to attribute a little bit more of it to the 502, though, just because I think, from what I could tell, as far as going back and forth between these, this is doing a little bit more of the heavy lifting here. And I think the material is just a bit stronger, and it's a bit more heavily stored, which is making it smoother as well, versus the 8542 has a lot of astringency still kind of baked into the tea. Cheers. Woody, creamy, just very good tea, hitting the back of the mouth. I'm enjoying this more than even normal, I feel like, for this tea. Just nice body. It's just a really well-rounded, solid tea that is not too remarkable in any one singular way, but it's just very beautiful. Okay, and we will conclude on this one. Made sure to not steep this very long. We'll see. I think it's perhaps just the contrast with the 7542 that's making this seem extra rough today. Just like nice mouth coating sweetness. The body is narrower. It's a little thinner as far as the tea. Not obnoxiously so or whatnot, but I do think the 7542 502 clearly is bringing a lot more to the table right now. I'm actually taking away that there's more of a difference in these teas than I thought. I think a lot of it is storage, and I think the challenge here is trying to separate out what is storage versus the actual tea material. Like if you found a tea batch of the 8542 that was stored the same as the 502, or vice versa, I wonder what conclusions you would draw from that. But actually, this infusion of the 8542 is not bad. It is still astringent, but it is causing some salivation. There's a nice brightness to the tea as well. The body is reasonable. you just gotta sit through that astringency quickly, as it does convert eventually to sweetness. So let me know how you like this episode. Let me know if you have experience with 8542 or 502-7542. I would definitely be curious to see. So yeah, I guess I would say that the 8542 seems related to the 7542, but is a bit different. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what about it is different. I wonder if they just use higher quality material for the 7542, or if there's a little bit more of a variation in the blend, because it's a little, I don't know, that level of astringency feels a little bit different than the 7542, which always has a little bit more of that pungent upfront mouthfeel that I don't quite get in the same way from the 8542. So thank you all for tuning in, and I will see y'all next time. Cheers.